Hey, good afternoon, all of you. Welcome back to our WAD 2022 post-lunch session. Our next guest speaker would be Mr. K. Vijayaveeran. Currently, he is a scientist lead and joint director with the Bureau of Indian Standards. He is basically an electrical and electronics engineer, and he has been with BIS for more than 20 years in various capacities. He served in various assignments, training, product certification, laboratory testing and lab audits, administration, enforcement, legal, foreign manufacturers, hallmarking of gold, silver, jewelry, and presently now he is looking after management system certification officer for Southern region. He is also an auditor in QMS, EMS, and occupational health and safety. Welcome, sir, Mr. K. Vijayaveeran.
மைக் ஆன் பண்ணிக்கோங்க கேமரா வீடியோ யூடியூப்ல தியேட்டர்ல ரிலீஸ் பண்ணுங்க
sharing I will be here.
Thank you, sir.
The connection was but in the speaker will others be able to see?
Good afternoon, sir. I thank the management of NCSEM, Anna University, and the Bureau of Indian Standards, respected Shri Yadav sir, Deputy Director General, Southern Region, and Vice Chancellor, Anna University, Shri Vedraj sir, and all the dignitaries. We have come to the first technical session. So my presentation would be the certification schemes operated by BIS. Various certification schemes are there with BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards. This will be about 15 to 20 minutes PowerPoint presentation, followed by a open house question answer session. पूरा करो. Thank you. So, Bureau of Indian Standards is our national standards body. It was established as Indian Standards Institution in 1947. That is why the famous ISA mark, everybody, it is now almost a household name, wherein we get the ISA mark we see on the products before we buy. That is our beginning. We are functioning under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. And BIS is a non-profit organization. Standards. So much has been talked about the standards. Standard, as we know, it has various dimensions and various applications. First and foremost, the commonly perceived thing about the standard is a product standard, because it is widely we see ISA mark on so many products. Like that, there are product standard. What is the specification? Whenever you buy a product, you immediately see the specification of the product. Whether you buy a heater or a motor, what is the wattage, what is the power consumption, what is the rating, like that. The product specification, that standard comes to the first to the mind. And there are also so many types of standards. There are system standards, there are process standards, there are service standards, and then how a material is supplied. And even a testing, whatever testing you do, that also has been standardized as per this prescribed test method. The standards, basically the standards only connect everything to market. Whatever you see around is governed by some or the other standards. A4 sheet, your paper, that there's a standard. 230 volt is a standard. The cement, the steel, anything, any material you are seeing, standards pervade all walks of our life. Standards are omnipresent, present everywhere. So that only before a product, anything is made actually before it goes in the market. The first thing, it will be matched with the existing standard specifications of similar products by different companies. Then only you can compete in the market. And then once planning to compete in the market, then we have to confirm the standard. The product has to conform to the product or the services or the process, anything. It has to conform to the prescribed, recommended minimum maximum requirements. And it will then finally you can actually connect with the market to have a meaningful transaction. BAS has launched the first ISO, started with QMS, Quality Management System. ISO 9001 is the most famous. It's a globally recognized quality management system certification standard. And apart from that, of late, after once we realized that we are not going to sustain life if we proceed in the same rate, the environmental deterioration, depletion of resources, and making this planet unlivable. So these things of environmental concerns, ISO 14001 series, as the other sir was also telling, so many series of standards came in this domain. Another important thing, occupational health and safety, ISO 45001. This certification is also on the rise. Like how Yadav sir told one example, the one accident of union carbide, methyl isocyanate, it has wiped out that industry. So accidents, loss of life and property. So to minimize that, we have to adopt a holistic approach. It is a system standards comprise holistic approach, right from conception of an idea to the end of life cycle. Everything, all aspects are taken care, and all the stakeholders' inputs are considered in deciding the operations. Of late, information technology is also picking up. ISO 27001. As we all know now, data is the new oil. Data is money, data is the market, data is going to decide everything. The statistics now, computers are able to predict what you will next do. Even we may not know. That to that much it is trying to model human behavior and the way we make purchase decisions, travel decisions, and all the personal preferences. We were studying computers for so many decades. Now computers are studying us. So information technology has given this. And so along with that came the security threats also. So ISO 27001 addresses specifically for that area. Like Sri Velraj sir told, energy management. Of late, energy, the resources are limited. So now there is a need to manage the energy, look for the energy efficient methods and monitoring and analysis. Then for food safety, food with the human travel and human lifestyle change. Now, food wherever we go, we want food to be available at that point of time. We remember we carry the tiffin boxes from our home to school. Nothing happened. For decades, we were used to that. But now we need food in the place wherever we are traveling on the move, and with a lot of shelf life. So this has given a big need for the food safety management to check for the risk, contamination, and safe for human consumption and disposal. Then educational organizations management system. This is also now picking up because academia is an integral, it's always an important stakeholder for everything. The academics only, the academia only is the founding stone basically. When we read what we learned starting from SI units, basic definitions, so fundamentals. So there was a need to manage our educational organizations also. It was so saddening to know that so many engineering colleges is going under closure. When Vice Chancellor Shri Velraj sir was telling, the data is very disturbing that we are unable to run the colleges, quality issues and employability of the students. Knowledge is one thing. Employability is the more, that is what the Western countries they look for. I remember in when we finished BE electrical and when we went to job in private first before joining BE, there was a girl who worked along with us. She did BTech from London. Whatever any topic comes to some theorem or some rule, we immediately tell. She won't be able to tell. But any parts, you just open this instrument, you take some randomly some chip out of it and you show immediately this is more Motorola microcontroller, so and so on. The way their employability, that is most important what they consider, not how much we memorize and how much we score. So the educational organizations management system, it adopts a holistic approach, like sir was telling, in all-round development of the student. Then we have an adventure tourism. Adventure tourism, the moment we see this name, all the accidents associated with this also come to our memory. Adventure tourism, this is a new upcoming area. India has got one of the most beautiful tourist destinations. So we need to tap this potential. It has got a land of big diversity. All the rivers, mountains, valleys, right from snow to desert, ancient monuments. So there's so much of adventure sports, everything. So this is the management system standard ISO 21101 for safety in adventure tourism. Then of late, another important management system standard, which already BS has given licenses also, is anti-bribery management system. Sir rightfully told actually. I don't think there can be any ambiguity in this, that Satyam, transparency and truth is the first foremost requirement of any system. Otherwise, there is no point in taking the second step. So this is the first. So, and India's ranking by Transparency International, even that EPA ranking came last week, and very disturbing actually. So we have to realize and awake that this meanness is destroying all our planning. It is totally crippling our national development. So this anti-bribery management system is exclusively designed for tackling this problem of corruption. And this road traffic safety. So much precious lives have been lost just by negligence or improper way of handling. And so this is also exclusively we have launched for managing the road safety. And this ready-mix concrete. Concrete is widely used. Everywhere, ready-mix concrete, the concept is now National Highways Authority, CPWD, everybody in their tenders, they are started mentioning that ready-mix concrete companies should have this certification. So this is a composite certification where the system, the company will be implementing the ISO 9001 and the product IS 4923 is the Indian standard for the concrete. So this is a composite certification. And of late, the latest standard in our domain is the conformity assessment scheme for milk and milk products. Launched by our Honorable Prime Minister on 23rd December 2021. This integrates all the milk and milk products in a single licensing scheme. Milk to your butter, curd, ghee, ice creams, flavored milk, everything, whatever is made of milk, a company need to have only one license, under that is called CAS. In this, one official from National Dairy Development Board, it is a joint venture of Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying and Bureau of Indian Standards, Department of Consumer Affairs. These two ministries came together and formulated this scheme. This new scheme, Scheme 9, as per Bureau of Indian Standards Regulations, is jointly developed by NDDB, National Dairy Development Board, and Bureau of Indian Standards. The beauty of all these standards, whatever management system standards we saw, is all these standards are of the same high-level structure. The high-level structure, class 1 to 10, is based on the Professor Deming cycle, plan, do, check and act. The class number 5, the center, leadership, supported by the planning, support operation, performance evaluation and improvement, into which the requirements of the organization's context, customer requirements, needs and expectations of the interested parties, everything is taken care in design of the system. The features of system standards. These are all the common features. All are based on the PDCA cycle only. We do a thing, based on the feedback, again we improve, again do, again improve, like that. It is a continuous feedback that continuously the system is improved. And it aims at the last requirement of the standard. Class 10 is for improvement. Continually you have to improve. And all these management system standard, class 4.2, addresses the customer and regulatory requirement. All the statutory, any entity, any company, regardless of whatever type of activity you do, you have to abide by the law of the land. First, we must know what is the rule regulation applicable on our activity, and we must also be knowing if there is a change in these regulations, how will I come to know? That also I must have procedure for identifying the changes in the laws affecting me. Then it follows a risk assessment procedure. Identification of the risk. In my activity, what can go wrong? If it goes wrong, what is my approach towards it, handling of it? So the classical 4 approach: risk avoidance, risk transfer, risk reduction, and risk acceptance. So all these are covered in the management system standards. So these management system standards also capture the organizational knowledge. So today I am here, I am an expert in so and so. Tomorrow I go and transfer, or I may get retired. So what happens? So I carry all that with me. So to avoid the knowledge draining out of organization, we capture that in the procedures and our documentation and whatever process we do, so that men may come and go, but the system will, the organization knowledge will continue to, the knowledge base will be protected. We have lost so much in our ancient knowledge in the dry leaf inscriptions. Everyone knows that. Because it is not, we could not pass it on to the next generations. So that should not happen again. And corrective action approach. Not only correction, if some deviation happens, normally we correct it immediately. But this standards also stresses upon why this, what is the root cause? What are the steps to be taken so that it doesn't repeat again? So this stress is more on this. This is a typical risk assessment table. I need not address everything that is brainstormed. We do a brainstorming, collect all the inputs from all the stakeholders, various sectors, and then we have to classify, we have to ratify that what is the probability of happening, and if it happens, what is the impact. So this is a typical risk assessment table. There are very advanced forms of this table now, but this is the most basic. How likely it can happen? If it happens, what is the damage it can produce? So this is same. First, we collect data. That is at the bottom. Data is coming. Something with data, somehow it is generated. When I organize it and produce in a meaningful form, it becomes information. Then from that information, I gain knowledge. Oh, this is how this has to be done, or this is a lesson, or this is the one. Then finally, when knowledge lodges securely in the mind, it becomes wisdom. This is a typical fishbone diagram for corrective actions. The classical 4M method: men, material, machines, and methods. So out of 4, this men, material, machine, and method. So it gives the root cause analysis. What is the root cause? Why it has happened? What steps to be taken so that it doesn't happen again? While implementing the standards, system standards, we see the scope and the boundary. Scope is the activity. I may be doing 10 activity, but I want to cover only 2 activity in my license. That is called scope. And boundary here is the geographical boundary. I may have 10 sites on corporate office, and out of which only I want my Chennai and Bangalore plant to be certified. Like the boundary is the geographical boundary. Scope is the activity which will come in my license document. Then training. After identification of this, first thing what we should do, I have to train my people. That is what sir was also telling now, Muthan sir. First, we have to train the people who are involved in the activity. Then we should do the gap analysis. Gap analysis is nothing but already you will have documentation. So many of your procedures, systems, rules, regulations, formats, everything will be running your office. What is required by the standard and what already existing, what extra documents or procedure to be made. This is we call gap analysis. Then we have to document that also, documentation. And then I implement the system management system in my organization. After implementation, I myself audit within one section of my organization, will audit the other section. This we call internal audit. One department auditing other department. After internal audit, the findings I review through a management review. These are the essential for submission of application to BIS. You must have completed an internal audit and you have to do a management review meeting also. So the implementation part broadly contains these 10 classes. Class 1, scope, preference, and terms and definitions. This in the plan, do, check, and act. These classes have been divided. Do is our operation, how I carry out my actual activity. Then check is the performance evaluation. All my internal audit, measurement, monitoring, evaluation, everything will come in. Cross-checking whether it is going as per plan or not. Then you take action. Why it has deviated? What is the root cause? Everything will come under taking up action, the plan to check in. So implementing MSc will first and foremost, it will define your overall context of your organization. Who is affected by your work and what they expect. Like our VC Veermurugan sir beautifully told actually. Without a stakeholder, if you do something and finally you come to know that he is getting affected. So not a single input we can afford to miss. And making sure you consistently meet the needs and expectations. Consistency. The standard doesn't aim at very breakthrough, significant, innovative transformation. So what we do methodically, systematically, we do so that we are consistent. Consistency is one important aspect of sustainability. And meet the necessary statutory and regulatory requirements. The auditor may say, during audit, you will know, Acha, this approval you have not got. As per Boiler Act, you should have this certificate. Oh, yes, sir, that's an NC. Okay, after obtaining, you submit it and the NC is closed. So, it gives an opportunity to know where we are, how much compliant we are. And we can expand into new markets. There are many sectors, as Sir Yadav sir was showing in one slide, 88% of the customers look whether you are complying with all the requirements or not. your ESG requirements, the carbon footprint, so many things. Whether you are a responsible company to do business with, so this much awareness has come now. So it will help the company to grow and expand. Okay, I have implemented, I have studied the standards, I have implemented in my organization, but why should I get a license? It costs me, no? I have to pay the license fee, I have to attend the audits and everything. See, certification is not a requirement of the standard. In none of the standards, you can find management system standard that you have to go and obtain a license. It helps you to get a third-party audit. Our view, our image of our organization will be always better, high only. But when some third person comes, audits the system, and say that we get an opportunity to have a third-party view of our activities. Then demonstration of capability to obtain and sustain a certification. Getting a license is one thing. The ability to maintain that license for 10 years, 20 years is a big thing. Recently, in the Iconic Week celebrations, we did for celebrations of Azadi Ka Amrut Mahotsav in Chennai, we felicitated all licensees who had been holding licenses for so many decades, 50 years, 25 years. Like we came and we honored them actually, because that capability to sustain is the real meaningful thing. They had been contributing in so many ways during so many inspections, so many audits. Their inputs definitely would have been the inputs of the auditor. It will be a very meaningful interaction. Every audit you discuss so many ideas, events, accidents, so many lessons from other companies, what's happening around the world. So it gives us it is a demonstration of our capability to the world. And enhanced participation with all stakeholders. Once I have a certification, then we will know who are all the interested parties, in what I can give an input. Sir, this you have put a chlorine this much level. It is not practical. There is no test method. Lab will say, sir, you have given one, my limit of quantification is only this much. We will not be able to test. There are no instrument available in India. Our manufacturer. So many quarters, all the stakeholders, the inputs will come. We will be able to enhance our participation and efficiency. See, third-party audits are always very efficient, I tell you. Rather than my monitoring my own activity from morning to evening, some third party comes and audits. How we evaluate students? Do we expect the student to repeat the entire book, whatever the full year is studied? No. 4 or 5 questions you ask. Adequate. So like that, during third party audit, this is very efficient way of assessing the system by sampling basis. Then effectiveness. Non-conformity, when it happens, you communicate that to the auditor. Sir, I have taken this corrective action. Now here after the auditor will approve it. Yes, whatever he is proposing is satisfactory. Then the NC is closed. So you get a chance for ratification. That my corrective action is ratified by an auditor who also sees, yes, this is the appropriate step for controlling this deviation. And most importantly, perpetuation. Once I have a license, I will have a responsibility to renew it. Every 3 years, I have to renew the license, and it will come for generation to generation. Otherwise, during one tenure, one good thing may happen, but when the regimes change, the changing times, changing people, then so that may be lost with the time. BIS has already certified so many major organizations. So a few of this I have listed here. All thermal power stations, nuclear power stations, India Post, cement industry, steel industry, like this. In every way, the standards is always have optimum use of resources. Just one example I'll give. Cement industry. The use of pozzolana in cement, how much environmental protection this has helped. Fly ash has been a very major problem for long decades actually. The thermal power stations, it's one byproduct is the fly ash. What to do with this? The standards then were introduced to permit fly ash addition in the cement, Portland pozzolana cement. The PPC, pozzolana is this fly ash is added without compromising the qualities of the parameters. This has been a major millions and millions of tons of fly ashes we are able to take in the concrete, thereby saving the huge environmental protection. So like this in steel industry also, so many grades of steel are there. I need not be the world class. Quality is fitness for purpose. It is adequate. This grade is adequate. Only that much resource will be. We should not be spending more energy or more resources into something which is not expected of that product or process. So optimum use of resources is ensured by grading of the material. So these are there also the standards help us in choosing the right material for the right purpose. Most of the safety related standards already have been there. Many standards have been under mandatory certification, which we will have a separate class. Actually, we have spoken to the university for standards club also. Our branch officers are doing that activity. So we will coordinate in formulating that. In every institution, we form a standards club with the students also are members of it, and one teacher will train them as mentors. District Industry Center, they have also got ISO 9001 from BIS. This is the certification journey. This is common for all the management system certification. But first, there will be a stage 1 audit. The basic things, whether the system is ready for the main audit, stage 2 audit will be seen by the auditor in 1 day or 2 days, depending on size of the company. Usually in stage 1 audit, they give so many observations. Usually, because first time somebody applies for license, in stage 1 audit, they make so many observations how to. Then the company prepares for the stage 2 audit. That is the main audit. For that will be comprising of audit team with the team leader and auditor and expert. They will audit depending on the number of departments and number of employees. They will audit and they will give their recommendation. The certification is given for a period of 3 years. Every year there will be a renewal audit. Every year there will be a surveillance audit. After 3 years, it will be a renewal audit. And all audits are informed audit only. It will be decided on mutual convenience of the auditee and the audit team. This is a fee structure, 500 rupees, and small and medium enterprises. Our certification charges are 30,000 for large scale and 15,000 for small scale. And that also has been waived off for certain special categories. And our audit fees is for large scale, it is 12,000 per mandate and 9,000 for small scale units. And the district industry center have a lot of schemes. They have a lot of subsidies, a lot of interest subvention, everything and all. They are very useful resource for any business. So you may be in touch with them also, because they refund for ISO 9000 certification, they refund the full amount actually. So many good schemes they are having. So you can approach the DICs also. Thank you. Now we are available for any discussion points.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, please use mic.
Is it okay, sir?
Okay.
We are talking about subsidy scheme for reinvestment of this ISO certificate.
Yes.
Okay, sir. Actually, literally we are struggling to contact the right person for the subsidiary. Of course, we are forwarding line to MSME, or we are asking them to contact some of the organization mentioned in the website. Okay, it's happening. But to be frank with you, we are not having much clarity on this.
Yes, sir. Actually, exactly. The similar feedback has been received from other quarters also. So we are planning exclusive sessions with the industry. Whoever actually, this is only our preliminary program, where we will say who we are, what we do, and just a face-to-face interaction. Out of this, whoever coming forward for certification, we do separate program for them. Therein, actually, we will discuss the standard. I'll open the standard, go class wise. And documentation application form will open and we'll show you how to fill up. Like this program, we are planning to have with DICs also. So in that program, we will invite all the associations and all the industry stakeholders. Definitely, we will have more sessions on this.
I understand all this session. Before that, can you forward some sort of GO or some of the a note on how to approach this, some sort of procedure? It will be great for the forward to our clients.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, there are some online questions. So one is why milk and milk products are covered under food safety certification? Will you be able to answer?
Yes, sir. Milk and milk product certification has been long thought of because for making a product compulsory, the government usually thinks of two criteria. One is it should be a mass consumption. Another, then it should be connected to human safety. Milk, everyone knows it is a mass consumption item and it directly involves with the human safety also. So now this scheme is introduced and down the line, someday, like gold and silver jewelry. Initially, it was a voluntary certification. Now the government has made it compulsory. Like that, someday down the line, to check the adulteration, to check all the carcinogens being added to milk. When milk is produced by artificial means, you deprive the farmer of his entitlement. The genuine benefits which it should go to the farmer will go to this adulteration companies. In two, it is a big loss either to GDP also, and it causes a lot of health burden also. The diseases are arising out of these adulterants. We need a big medical infrastructure. Already India medical infrastructure, everyone knows how scarce and how needy it is. So it is a good step actually. Down the line, milk and milk products, which is wide consumption items, when it gets certified with the CAS logo, we have separate session on that. Actually, we are working already. We are getting applications. Even Avin has applied. Nandini has applied, Vijaya has applied, Milma from Kerala has applied. So all are showing interest because it is a good thing because they are work transparent and they are having good quality. And it is a single point certification for NDDB certification and also BI certification also. 3 licenses they will get in one go. The ISA mark for the product, whatever milk powder, ice cream or paneer, whatever it is. And the process certification by MDDB, because one official from NDDB also be there in the audit, National Dairy Development Board. And the food safety management system. This audit will also audit the requirements of ISO 22000, food safety management system. So it's a 3-in-1, which will save them a lot of cost, time and energy.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lakshmanan, you raised your hand. Do you have a question? If you want to, you can unmute and ask the question.
Sir, can I ask one question? Sir, you mentioned about that ISO 21000 educational organization. How is that different from 9000 for education students?
Yes, sir. All these standards, whatever we have seen, the management system standards are based on ISO 9001 only. 9001 is the mother standard for all the management system standard. But based on the experience and the expertise gained, it has been uniquely tailored only for that particular organization. It is we can say an improved ISO 9001, customized for educational organization. That's all.
So suppose an organization or school or college already has 9000.
It is easy for them to shift to this actually.
Or is it only for education service providers? Like the service providers like this, people who give tuition, buy juice,
Yes. Anyway, the teaching activity can happen, and in their circle now we certified Kendriya Vidyalaya IIT recently. Yes, IIT director Dean sir also gave to the award ceremony. It was widely covered by TV and media also, in the papers also. That was the first Kendriya Vidyalaya in India to get the certification. Their license scope is holistic development of the children. They could have restricted it to studies, but they said in all walks of life. That is the real meaning of education. So any activity we can tailor made to.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lakshmanan, you have a question. Now you can unmute and speak. Mr. Lakshmanan? Okay, anyhow, since he's not there. Sir, we have two more questions, but we will take it later on.
Okay.
Because we have other faculties meeting.
Okay, sir. We can be reached at bis.gov.in. All our email IDs, phone numbers, everything is there. Our Chennai office is at Termini, and we have got presence all over India. In Tamil Nadu, we have got 4 offices: Chennai, Madurai, Coimbatore, and Chennai regional office. Both the branch offices of Chennai are here only. And Pan India, we have got bis.gov.in. You can go. In that, most importantly, there is one link: know your standard, know your product. Can I share that, Chaitanya? Please come, because this will be the most useful link you will ever see.
I will do. Download image and also.
See this link. Are you able to see this link, sir? Know your standard.
Screen need to be shown. Okay, so oh, it is only this one. I'll stop. I will stop.
Thank you, Chaitanya.
bis.gov.in.
So this is our website, bis.gov.in. In that, in the center, there is a link. If you click this, it will take you to a page where you can search the standards by introducing any keyword also. You can, if you know the IS number, Indian standard number, you can enter it and search. Or any keyword, if you know, you can search also. For example, I want to search some cement standard. It will give a list of all the standards which contain this word cement in the title. Okay, like that. In that, yeah. See, suppose OPC, I want to see the OPC, IS 269. All vital information related to this standard is given in this page. This is a very important page, wherein how many amendments are there, all over India, how many licenses are there, which are all the companies who have got license for this particular product, and what are all the testing labs. There are 41 testing labs for this product. What is the composition of the committee? Who are all the committee members? Because the committee comprises of various stakeholders from government departments, manufacturers, NGOs, user organizations, like this. It will be a very varied mix of all types of stakeholders. And the product manual, what are the tests to be done, what frequency it is to be done, everything. It will be a single. You can and you can view the standard for free also. You can download any standard. You have to fill your profile, name, mobile number, email ID, address, and all. Then you have login and you can download the free of cost. This is a very useful link. All the vital information related to your product, whether it's a product or a process, any activity, you can just have a keyword search in this. And then you will automatically come to know the laboratories who are all the other manufacturers. If you click on this, you will get the list of licenses who have got this license, BIS license for this product all over India. This is one thing. Then who are all the testing laboratories which can test this product along with the testing charges, that's also listed. And what is the composition of the committee? You can talk to the lab, you can talk to the other this thing, and you can talk to the committee members also. Like this, you have in one page whatever you need, important vital things you need to know about that product already given. So that is why I put a very important link, bis.gov.in, then know your standard. This will get you connect with your stakeholders. All the stakeholders we have listed here.
Download it.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. We are running short of time. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So
Thank you.
we are continuously available to you. You can reach us through website, email, phone. Okay. Thank you for
Right.
the opportunity, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vijay. Thank you for the detailed presentation. We next move on to some small change in the schedule.
One thing I want to add is, so standards are free of cost. So anyone can download the Indian standards. So and they can get themselves educated. So first they need to before you are seeing India one tile, know your standard. In your standard, one tile is there. Click Indian standard. Click to download. There you can download, but for downloading you need to register first. And then with that login, you need to log in and you can search for the standard and you can download. So you can make, you can study the standards. People can make use of that feature. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir. Okay, we move on to the next page.
Am I audible? Because I cannot hear. Am I audible? Somebody can just give me a yes or no. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everybody. I would initially like to thank CCC for inviting TIC Council to make a presentation on the sustainable practices which we are doing, and also convey my wishes for this World Accreditation Day celebrations which they're conducting. So greetings to all of you for this World Accreditation Day. We can go to the next slide, please. So when we talk, just a quick introduction about what TIC Council is. So we are a trade association who have about more than 100 members globally. We are headquartered at Brussels and we have our offices in India, that is in Gurgaon, Washington, as well as we have opened recently an office at Shanghai, China. Please go to the next slide. So TIC Council has got 4 major key policy areas across which we operate. And these are largely in the area of ESG, digitalization for the digital solutions, especially related to the cybersecurity framework, telecom products, interoperability, etc. We have a focus on the product safety compliance because that is again of importance, be it electrical, food products, in the health sector, whatever. On international trade, we have very limited activities which we have done. It is just that the US-EU trade dialogue is being monitored. We have not started actively engaging in that part of the direction. To be a TIC Council member, we have a compliance program wherein we basically require accreditation to a couple of Indian ISO standards. Over and above, we also have a compliance assessment based on the 7 integrity principles. And once the compliance program is successful, the membership is granted to the respective member. Next slide, please. So when we talk about our activities, irrespective of the ESG or any other advocacy pillar we have 3 areas of priority. One is we advocate for a balanced, informed regulatory framework. Second, our purpose is to enhance the reputation as well as raise awareness about the independent TIC sector, because I know we still recognize this TIC sector, and there's a time that we move that in the area of. The next is we raise the standards of TIC industry practices in order to enhance trust of the TIC sector. As regards to the area of ESG, we contribute our experience on sustainability testing, inspection, then reporting by sharing our views with the policymakers globally. Topics related to sustainable finance, energy efficiency, product sustainability, and we are contributing especially in the European region on the area of the regulatory framework. In addition, considering that ESG and sustainability is our key priority and one of the focus areas of the policy, we are developing a mission and vision statement for the TIC sector sustainability issue. We have had series of meetings in this regard, and we should be out with the mission and the vision statement in a couple of months, maybe in next 2 months. Also, we are raising the awareness with the policy makers on the importance of the quality infrastructure for achieving sustainability. And our members are involved actively in the certification of carbon removals as well as carbon adjustment, which is of priority, especially looking into the EU policies which are being released related to the carbon removals and carbon adjustment activities. Finally, we are developing a set of sustainability reporting guidelines according to EU's taxonomy framework so that we can improve the quality of reporting and transparency for our sector. Can you take to the next slide, please? No, the previous one. Yeah. So when we look into the Indian side of sectors and our contributions to the Indian scenario, as per the McKinsey report, the areas where there is going to be an economic growth and spurt of jobs are there on your screen. It says agriculture, food processing, real estate, automotive, textile, etc. And at India level, we are, as all of you are aware, we are negotiating series of free trade agreements, which will give Indian companies to enter the high-level global value chains. Now, when we talk about entering the global value chain, where India would be the trading partners with EU, US, China, etc., there is a need that we look into the aspect of improving our relations in various sectors. More importantly, the energy access, infrastructure, connectivity, as well as risk stemming from climate change. Considering the theme of today's World Accreditation Day is in this regard, I would keep my presentation focused in this part only. So when we talk about what are the different initiatives being taken by the different economies globally to improve the carbon neutrality, energy efficiency, then biodiversity, waste management practices, there is a need that companies have or impose due diligence across the supply chain so as to ensure that the activities which they're undertaking mitigate the climate-related risks and provide safe and sustainable product. So when we consider that the Indian firms have to enter this global value chain, it is essential that the claims which they are going to be making to enter that have to be complied, and the market access challenges have to be overcome. So according to us, can we mute the people who are speaking? So according to us, we feel that testing, inspection, certification, validation, verification, the conformity assessment sector should be one of the ways we can achieve this. How? I'll just give you an example. If you can go to the next slide. So 2 years ago, TIC Council, along with one of the European organization, initiated a study and published a report on the value of TIC sector, which focuses on the way the businesses which aim to enter the global value chain, how is it that TIC sector can support them? Because when we look into the TIC sector, they initially provide the methods for satisfying the consumers, regulatory authorities, market requirements. And in assessing the product for the compliances with, again, the standards and the regulatory requirements, my earlier speaker mentioned a series of standards for different processes, products, etc. So to ensure that the compliance to these requirements is fulfilled, third-party conformity assessment services act as a conveyor so that you have a certificate which also, if you're under the accreditation MRA umbrella, it has recognition globally. Secondly, to enter the high value chain, TIC sector is able to facilitate this because we are able to mitigate the liability and the litigation cost. For example, if it is a US market, the litigation liability cost is an important driving factor, and using the third-party TIC services, we are able to provide an independent confirmation of the product meeting the regulatory requirements. So can you take to the next slide, please? So when we talk about the value of TIC sector in the area of environment, how does this whole ecosystem work? Because conformity assessment will demonstrate that a product, process, installation, whatever, meets the specified requirements, right? So, for example, if we see the EU is achieving carbon neutrality by 2050, China aims to do it much earlier, and in India also, Prime Minister Modi in COP26 had announced that we would be achieving this by 2070. Now, there is a need that the quality infrastructure addresses the challenges to the climate change. Now, how do we do about it? The TIC sector especially has experience in monitoring the climate change of the past decades. For example, we have the competence and the technical know-how to monitor the various schemes and standards which exist. For example, the verified certified carbon scheme, the gold standard scheme, the CDM scheme. In addition, there are international standards by ISO like ISO 14065, which help in monitoring the GHG emissions. There is a one level higher standard which has come as ISO 17029, which is just not applicable, of course, to the GHG, but it has a broader framework of application in the validation and verification sector. At international level, there are standards for calculating the carbon footprint, which are largely 14065, which provides guidance, 64, sorry, guidance on the organization level for quantification and reporting of the GHG emissions. We have 14006, ISO 14065, 67, sorry, which provides guidelines for quantification of and reporting of the carbon footprint. In addition to that, members of the council are also able to calculate and verify and report against the ICAO CORSIA standard, which has recently been released. So what actually is, this helps the companies to achieve their sustainability transition and ensuring that we are supporting the companies with solutions for sourcing the sustainable material, but also for certifying the quality of the recycling procedures and products which they have adapted. It's just not that when there are market surveillance related activities which are there, our organization, Antique Sector, also supports in that. Also, when there is implementation of the circular economy solution, optimizing the energy efficiency and minimizing as well as verifying the green buildings. TIC sector supports in that area. We also implement standards like ISO 5001 and 5001, which have got benefits in area of its implementation. Can you change the next slide, please? If we look into the global regulatory changes that are happening to boost the resilience against the climate change, if you look at the slide, we see that globally there are different practices taken. Can you please mute the person who's talking, because when I speak, there's a lot of disturbance which is coming. For example, as I mentioned before, EU is planning to impose carbon border adjustment. And if this is, as they're going to be imposing this, when there are products which are going to move to the EU market, the requirements laid down by them will have to be compliant. And against that, verification certificates will have to be issued by companies who are planning to export from India. So it is essential that when we are entering the supply chain, a due diligence of environment and human rights is done. And TIC sector is able to support in this area. Can you move to the next slide, which describes about the benefits which we have as against implementing the ISO 5001. This is a case study which has been published on the business sector assurance of the website of ILAC and IF, wherein what it shows is that a Brazilian pharmaceutical company, which when implemented its ISO 5001, it has over 1,200 employees which were located at 4 different sites in Brazil. The company was manufacturing blood transfusion dialyzers, as well as accessories for administration of drugs and packaging medicines for pharmaceutical. The company implemented ISO 50001 to conserve the resources as well as ensure energy efficiency measures. Once they adapted this energy management system, they observed that there was a substantial enhancement in their environmental performance, which was achieved. So you can also see on the screen the amount of savings which they achieved as a result of implementation of this program. So the whole purpose why I have informed you this is when we effectively implement the different standards related to the TIC sector, be it for the inspection where relevant, for validation or verification, or for testing of soil or water or air parameters as per 17 or 25, or for the management system standards like ISO 14001, ISO 50001, there is a way in which we would in future be able to support and be a part of a global ecosystem wherein in an area today where global trade is actually catching up, and be able to mitigate the adverse activities which are happening to the climate. So that's all from my side. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to present about the activities which TIC sector is undertaking in the area of sustainability.
Thank you, Dr. Aparna. Thank you for throwing light on the sustainability initiatives from TIC Council. Thank you for joining. We will move on to the next guest speaker on sustainability reporting by Mr. Prasanjit Mitra. Mr. Mitra is the Deputy General Manager now with TU Iso Southeast Asia, and he's a BTech in electrical engineer. He's a qualified tutor in education body for IRC and NABET registered lead audit training courses on QMS, EMS, and occupational health and safety. He has conducted several IRC registered courses in DV and NABET, and several courses in TU Iso also. He has done more than 1,000 mandates of quality, health and safety, environment, energy audits in India and overseas. Auditing and training at multicultural atmosphere in countries like US, Netherlands, South Africa, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Indonesia. He is responsible for sustainability portfolio under the business assurance, new product innovation, and customized audit services delivery as a part of global sustainability care team of ISO for the services like GRI import verification assurance, ISO 20400 based sustainable procurement, ISO 26000 based social responsibility verification. Welcome, Mr. Prasanjit Mitra. You can share your slides, sir.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Just let me share my screen. Kindly confirm my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I think respected delegates and all the participants online and offline. It is indeed a great pleasure for me. So I would just share a few words about sustainability reporting here, even though the topic is extremely vast, as you know. So within this, for the sake of time, I'll be restricting my views or my explanations quite short. So the moment you talk about sustainability, what comes into our mind, what pops up into our mind? I think three things majorly comes into our mind, which we can say like people, profit, and planet. Okay, so in other words, we can say like social, economic, and environmental performance of an organization. Now, why I'm saying people, profit, and planet? Because the moment we think of profit, certain monetary things comes into our mind. But apart from the profit, which is creating an economic value, it is also very important, like how an organization is creating value for the people and creating value for the planet. So that's why it's called triple bottom line, or triple or three operating results. Now, coming to sustainable development goals, I needless to talk about. I think it is one of the paramount important topic now, sustainable development goals, because this is a clear blueprint for all of us, for the various for the various organizations, maybe in private sectors or at various sectors. At the same time, also for the countries I think most of the industry, like most of the country leaders, have also adopted this. So sustainable development goals is clearly a roadmap or clear, readily available blueprint for us, like how we can contribute towards sustainability. Now, moving forward, on environment, social, and governance. In fact, there are very frequent questions like whether these two are the same things or these two are the different things. I would rather say these two are the two different sides of the coins. Okay, so when we talk about ESG, like environmental, social, and governance, it is really important from the stakeholders' point of view for an organization, that how responsible an organization is socially, or how cautious is it with respect to social, economic, and and governance related issues. So moving forward, I would just very quickly discuss about the journey on social responsibility as well as the sustainability for an organization. I think I'll start with materiality assessment. What is materiality assessment? See, the moment we think of sustainability, several things comes into our mind. Like, say, take the example, environmental protections. Are we really working in a directions which prevents pollutions, or are we really working in a directions which ensures that resources are recirculated? Are we working in a directions which talks about protection of the human rights? Is it also talking about the safeguarding the various types of people involved into this whole process? Is it talking about the labor practices? So for an organizations, if you look into the complete sphere of influence, there are various factors which actually creates an impact to the organizations. Now, for an organization, it's really paramount important right at the beginning to understand what is relevant for the organizations and what is important for the organizations. So out of various topics, they need to identify which are the major impactful sustainability topics which is going to play an important role in coming time. So materiality assessment is to deeply look into that organization's various stakeholders and understand what is their needs and expectations, and based on the organization's own requirements as well as stakeholders' requirements, come up with very clear sustainability topic which is going to drive for the coming time. So after having done the materiality assessment and stakeholder engagements through materiality assessment, during the materiality assessment, it is very important that out of say, take the example, 15-20 different topics, you need to prioritize, because you cannot have complete transformation overnight. So there could be environmental issues for certain organizations, like climate change or decarbonizations are very relevant issue. For some organizations, it could be not so relevant, but at the same time, issues with respect to human rights or labor practices, that would be more relevant. So identifying those topics or those areas requires that we need to have a little bit of prioritizations. To do that, based on organizations' own strategic directions, financial considerations, is business objectives, they need to come up with clear priorities for them. Okay, and then apply PDCA approach to come up with implementations for those areas, and then constantly monitoring and verifications of those sustainability aspects or indicators, like what are the trends, are we really moving into the directions what we have taken, and then after the monitoring and verifications, you have collected enough information about your sustainability performance, and then you are disclosing this information. Okay, so this is how the whole journey should look like. Yeah. Now, this is in short about this. Now, as far as the sustainability report is concerned, as I was saying, that disclosing the performance of an organization, can take place through various means. Sustainability report is one of the means, you can say. There could be also various other means, like non-financial disclosures we might have heard about. There could be annual reports. There could be integrated reports. So these are the various means through which a sustainability performance is disclosed. So this is in short about the various methods for disclosure. Now, important part is that as far as this whole process is concerned, whole process of disclosure is always to ensure the credibility of this disclosure process. It is always guided with certain principles. I will talk about those principles. It is guided with certain framework. So third-party auditing or verifications plays an important role for as far as this particular disclosure process is concerned. Now, if I talk about a little bit on the global trend on sustainability reporting, you would see that say take the example top 100 companies. So it is around 80% of the top 100 companies worldwide now reports on sustainability. Okay, if you look into Fortune 500 companies, like out of them around 250 companies, like G250 companies, are now currently 90% of them are reporting on this. Okay, so sustainability reporting has got a huge momentum in last more than a decade. Okay, a few of the countries, just to share with you a global scenario, like few of the countries in Europe, especially like Germany, Slovakia, in Kazakhstan also it is showing a sharp increase. Now, this is very important to understand the context of this sustainability reporting. So context of the sustainability reporting is basically driven by some of the regulations. Okay, like if I talk about European unions, there are 3-4 different types of regulations which talks about either directly sustainability reporting, or it is talking about disclosure of non-financial informations. So like NFRD, this is one of the regulations which is prevailing in India, prevailing in Europe, which ask for certain non-financial informations for certain organizations which are employing more than 500 plus. Similarly, there's an upcoming regulations. It's called Corporate Social Reporting Directives, CSRD, which is going to come up in 2023. So that is also that is going to create a huge requirement for sustainability reporting. So and of course, European Union Green Taxonomy Regulations 2020 is also asking for certain information about the environmental performance, or it has got certain environmental objectives. So it is also asking for. And apart from these drivers or regulations, there are also voluntary disclosures which are coming through cascading effects from various stakeholders. It could be investors, it could be customers. So from various sources of cascading effects, it could be from America or it could be from Europe, but either for a multinational company having supply chain in India or having presence in India are also getting impacted, are driven towards sustainability reporting. Similarly, some examples to share with you for Singapore. Also, there are requirements for listed companies to publish this sustainability reporting. And to mention about Indian context, apart from voluntary disclosures or disclosure which are coming through various types of cascading effects, BRSR, which is from 2021, is asking for reporting on this business responsibility and social response and sustainability reports, business responsibility and sustainability report for the top 1,000 companies in terms of market capitalizations. You can call it as also part of sustainability report. So there is a global movement with respect to demand for various types of disclosure methods. Now, the methods or mechanisms of report can alter because there are various types of, I think if I'm not making mistakes, more than 100 types of reporting instruments are existing. So which reporting framework or which reporting instruments to be adopted definitely be depending upon the stakeholders from where the requirements are coming. But at the same time, this is really very important that organizations is publishing the sustainability performances through those reporting mechanisms. Moving to a little bit of more informations, especially about the countries. You can see the countries which are showing an increasing trend, especially Germany, Japan, Sweden, Italy, are all with positive trend in terms of reporting. Okay, so this is just to give you a glimpse of how the sustainability reporting has gained momentum. As far as the reporting is concerned, this is a comparison from 2017 to 2020 information. So everywhere you can say there is almost growth in terms of reporting. Yeah, now in terms of sectors, which are the sectors who basically require sustainability reporting? I think mostly you would find that those sectors which came amongst the top 5 or 6 are also maintaining in 2020 also, like forestry and paper, utilities, financial services, industrials, manufacturing and metals, personal and household goods are forerunners as far as the reporting is concerned. So same 6 sectors, those are leading in 2020 also. Now you can ask basic questions. Let us ask ourselves that what is the purpose of this sustainability reporting? Why should an organization go for a sustainability report? Okay, now we can understand, we have already gone through, we have come across certain steps, like we have understood why sustainability is important, what are the blueprints to achieve sustainable development goals, like we talked about UN SDG 2030, so 17 sustainable development goals. So it is pretty clear before us that we all should act on it. But what is the purpose of reporting? The moment we talk about the purpose of reporting is that sustainability report is something like you can call as a single point tool to showcase your sustainability performance to all your stakeholders, internal and external stakeholders. Now, there is a different purpose for internal stakeholders, and there is a different purpose for the external stakeholders. So, sustainability report is something like a consolidated dossier of performance in terms of your like economic, environmental, and social performances. So, this is why this is really important that as a single document, it serves multiple purposes. Now, as far as this reporting process is concerned, this reporting process, I'll talk a little bit more on this reporting process. Before that, as I was saying a few minutes back, there was NFRD directives from European Union 2014, which talks about certain type of organizations to publish their non-financial informations. So you can look into like who are more than 4,000 employees. Okay, so which is basically covering 6,000 plus companies in Europe. But important thing is that from Indian context, it is through certain cascading effects. Either you need to publish some information on environmental, social, and economic data to your customers in Europe, or through some indirect means or through cascading means, you have to like most of the organizations in India also, they are coming under the regulations to this cascading effects. So now, which are the informations are required under this? It is basically environmental protection, social responsibility, respect for human rights, anti-corruption, bribery, diversity on company boards. So all these informations are mandatory as far as this 2014 directive is concerned. Now, let's talk about what are the international reporting protocols. So as I was saying, there are more than 100 different types of reporting instruments are there, and out of those, I think one of the most sought after and accepted and credible, I would say there are several credibles are there, but most well accepted reporting instrument is GRI. Okay, so it's called Global Reporting Initiative. So you can look into this. GRI is an English standards, and it is adopted by several companies in different countries. As far as this reporting is concerned, and at the same time, there is also an accountability standard called AA 1000, which is also a guidelines for transparency and stakeholder engagements. Okay, so these are the two standards, when used wisely, would be creating a report which will be really credible amongst the various stakeholder groups. Now, what is there in this GRI reporting principles? Now, to understand that, I would say that there are two distinct parts. One is content-wise. Content-wise, it has to have reflection on stakeholder inclusiveness. Okay, various types of stakeholder dialogues and stakeholder requirements. How have you considered those? And sustainability context. What is the context of the organizations? Materiality, I talked a few minutes back. Materiality is nothing but what is important for the organizations. So that it should contain the materiality assessment part, and it should be completeness. It should have information on the completeness. As far as the information of this report is concerned, GRI reporting talks about basically 6 different principal areas like accuracy, balance, clarity, comparability, reliability, and timelines. So these are the 2 important part of GRI. And as I was saying, GRI is basically a principle-based standards for reporting. Now, to give you a little bit of more information about what is stakeholder inclusiveness, the focus on contact principles to ensure minimum informations and content detections to be ensured. Okay, so stakeholder engagement, we need to have a clear information as far as the report is concerned in terms of stakeholder engagement process, and also informations about what is relevant aspects for you. That means materiality assessment. And what is the context of the organizations in terms of sustainability, that is also very important. And quality principles, as I was saying, there are 6 main principles. So focus on quality principle is to ensure minimum methodology to be ensured while producing the sustainability report. Okay, so these are the various principles needs to be followed in reporting. Now, as far as the report structure for GRI is concerned, even though GRI has currently 2 versions of standards applicable, like 2016 and 2021. So I thought just to give you a little bit of more information on 2016. So 2016, there are 3 sets of standards. So first one is series 100, which is universal standards, are the universal standard that describes the principles and methodology of reporting. It starts with 100. Then topic specific standards. Okay, topic specific standards, basically 200, 300, and 400. 200 is talking about environmental, economic. 300 is talking about environmental indicators, and 400 is talking about the social indicators. Yeah. So just to give you a little bit of more information on this reporting part, like what is the structure of this reporting part. This entire reporting comes up with 2 options. One is core and comprehensive. These are the 2 options: comprehensive disclosure or core disclosures. The applicability of this core options and comprehensive options are 2 different. Of course, for an organization who starts with core would be more relevant because it would be covering certain basic requirements, where comprehensive, as the name suggests, it would be as far as the disclosure is concerned, it will be extended further. Okay, so you can look into this. It is as far as this series 100 is concerned, it is 101 is the starting point. Okay, for using these GRI standards. 102 is on general disclosures, and 103 on management approach. Okay, and as I was saying, 200 is on economic topics. So it has got certain numbers of disclosures from 201 to 206. Similarly, 300 series is talking about the various types of environmental indicators and their disclosures. And 400 is talking about the social indicators. Okay, so good thing is that it is with a modular structures. And it is really easy to adopt for any organizations. Okay, so this is in short about the GRI structure of reporting. As I was giving example of core and comprehensive, the 2 options available for reporting. So core options add certain basic minimum informations and indicators to be disclosed in the sustainability report, and the core is minimum level, while is comprehensive is more enlarged information is required. So it all depends upon, for an organization, like which options they are choosing. Based on that, the organizations can decide. Okay, so this is again topic specific standards, the 3rd series. They will be also having certain information in terms of general disclosure and management approach. As far as this standard is concerned, what should be the approach of adopting these standards? The first, it will be like reporting on the general disclosure. Shall report the required disclosures from GRI 102, and then identify the material topics which is relevant for them, and identify the boundary considerations, And based on that material topics, they come up with reporting on the material topics, like what is relevant for them, come up with the indicators for 200 cities, 300 cities, and 400 cities. So this is how the process is. As far as the whole process of report publication is concerned, it would be like, if I explain to you through this chart, it would be like, first identify what are the topics or what are the issues, sustainability issues relevant to your organizations. Who are the data owners? Identify which are the sources of informations, how the requirements and how the requirements and data collections process shall work, like what are the informations and how those informations to be collected, and the timelines or time frame for reporting. Okay, so and then based on this, you collect the informations within the organizations as well as from your sphere of influence, and then analyze those informations. This part makes a very important role, because as far as the analysis part is concerned, it is not only certain facts and figures, but also it shall reflect organizations' overall strategic directions. Okay, so it shall reflect the purpose of the organizations. It shall reflect the organizations where they would like to see in terms of their sustainability journey. So analysis is more of like that. So come up with a very clear narratives or clear story for their sustainability performances, and then create the draft reporting, and then finally get this checked internally, and then finally offer it for external assurance. Okay, external assurance is nothing but our verification methods. I'll talk a little bit on this external assurance. That should be the last stage. Yeah, why this external assurance part is important? Because it proves the credibility of the informations, whatever you are publishing through your report. Okay, so it is normally verified by any third-party organizations who are verifying the report contents, who check the consistency of the content, consistency of the data you have furnished, as well as adequacy with respect to the reporting principles. So take the example, if you are reporting with respect to GRI, then the verification shall concentrate on two aspects. First is that whether the reporting principles have been followed or not, and second thing is that the consistency of the information. So based on these two assessment or verifications, rather I would say, the third-party verification body will give you an assurance report or assurance statements that would prove the reliability of the content. Okay, so this is how this whole process shall go, as far as the reliability, as far as the establishing the reliability or establishing the acceptance or credibility of this report is concerned. And finally, the outcome would be like this assurance statement, okay, from any third-party verification body. So that assurance statement would be annexed to your sustainability report. So this would be serving as to create the confidence amongst your stakeholders. Okay, so this is how the whole thing, as far as the sustainability reporting journey is concerned, very short. Thank you so much for your support and listening, faithful listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjeev Mitra. It was a very, even though it was time was short, you gave an excellent sustainability reporting structure. And that clarifies everything. Thank you so much for participating. The next speaker would be Ms. Jyotsna Beliapa. She is the board director of Blue Sky Sustainable Business LLP. And that's the only accredited third-party independent inspection body for CSR projects in India. She is an internationally certified social auditor with 25 plus years of experience managing social risk for two transnational retailers, Marks and Spencer's, PLC, and the Gap. She is a member of the Sustainability Board and Subject Matter Expert Committee formed on Social or the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. She is subject matter expert in national and international forums on topics of social metrics, business responsibility, NGR, BC, ISO 26000, ESG, and business responsibility sustainability. Consultant to Ernst & Young, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and CIA, in the Industries Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. Welcome, Mr. Josna. You can share your screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to give me an opportunity to talk to you all today and be a part of this panel discussing sustainability. I have a confession to make that before 5 years, my only interaction with the word accreditation was once when Mr. Jory called me up to talk about social audits in one of the WAD. And I think this was around 2016. That was the first time I came across the fascinating world of accreditation. And from that time, I have been hooked. With the guidance available by the leading lights in this field, I set up Blue Sky. You can see my screen, no? Yeah. So I set up Blue Sky Sustainable Business in 2018, just when the world was waking up to sustainability. Now we have been talking about sustainability in a pretty this day is celebrating sustainability, and you might have heard many definitions and interpretations of sustainability, and this was a realization which was coming into the market even by 2012-13, when I was working with some international retailers, that sustainability was getting to be a very important aspect to measure a success of a business. So it was just not about helping the society, but it was also about, are you a responsible business? To find a lot of companies would actually be very responsible, but there was really no way of measuring how sustainable you are, or how much what you do in the field of sustainability, how do you measure its performance? Because there was really no standards available at that time to say whether you're being sustainable or not. And at that time in 2010, a very important standard was introduced called ISO 26000. So I had been working on that, and I sort of realized that would be a great standard to develop a framework for assessing the impact of CSR projects. And that was how Blue Sky Sustainable Business was born. We are one of the first and the only organizations who has been accredited on social responsibility, social services. And it took a lot of effort, but it was so worth it. And I'll share with you how getting to be an accredited body in the field of social services is not only challenging, but a huge requirement in the current scenario. I just want to, before I go into the deeper details of it, I just want to give a context as to why why accreditation in the sustainability world, or accreditation of sustainable activities, is becoming very important. Just look at these numbers from 2013 to 2020. Almost 1 trillion has been spent on corporate social responsibility. Yeah, that's one hell of a lot of money. In fact, we don't even do 1 trillion worth of exports, but that's the amount of money that has been spent on CSR projects. And over 50% of this money has come in the last 3 years. COVID saw an outflow of huge amount of money and compassion in the form of CSR investments. Yeah. This year, mostly we would have crossed, that is year ending 22, we would have crossed about 22,000 crores, which has been spent on CSR. And manufacturing, energy, and financial services contribute the most. And you must have heard about the 2%, the investment of 2% of the profits, which has to be put into CSR projects. So these numbers are those 2% compliance, which is done. Yeah. And the Companies Act 2013 basically defines what are the 12 areas you can invest in CSR. And in India, most of the top priorities for Indian companies has been education and skill development. Yeah. Yeah, this is specifically of last year. COVID-19, the type of investments that have happened in CSR funds, most of it has gone to CSR, Prime Minister's Fund. But this year, you see that the amount of money that has been contributed to the Prime Minister's funds is drastically reduced. And responsible corporates who are genuinely interested in doing something good for their society are starting to look at different areas to invest the CSR projects. So the point I'm trying to make here is that the amount of money that is being spent on CSR is humongous, which requires a certain, which desperately requires the need for an accredited protocol, inspection bodies to ensure that this is spent well. This gives you an idea of the type of money that is being spent. 22,000 is what we are looking at FY21. And I wanted to share just so that you know what is the type of funding that is happening in the CSR space is look at these numbers. This is the amount of money that has been spent on CSR by the top 1,000 companies. Look at these names. Look at these numbers. This is just 2% of the profit which is being spent. And that is why the need to have standardized procedures to ensure that this type of funds, this level of funds are invested responsibly is what's the reason why accreditation has been of great use. Just a second. Yep. Okay. So what is what is the accreditation process that we do at Blue Sky? Blue Sky is an inspection body, and we have been accredited because of a process that we follow in what do you call assessing the CSR investments. We talked about the amount of money that is invested in CSR projects, and in 2021, government came up with a requirement that you have to, big corporates or corporates who spend more than 1 crore on a CSR project have to bring out CSR assessment reports and certificates. So we, being an accredited body, are in the business of assessing the impact of the CSR projects and giving them a report and a certificate. And then my colleague Prasenjit, my panel colleague Prasenjit before this session talked about the reports. So yes, we follow the sustainability framework of ISO 26000 and National Guidelines for Responsible Business responsible this thing to bring out the reports and the certificates for the impact done by the CSR projects. And so again, now you might be saying, okay, what are the standards? What are the frameworks that you're using? Because it has become a compliance requirement, the framework that we use is basically the 3 laws which have become extremely important. One is the Companies Act 2013. The second one is the company's CSR policy amendment rules 2021, which has got very specific on the type of impact and the type of documentation that the government wants to see in terms of the CSR projects. And then of course, there's the company's accounts amendment rules. The company's accounts amendment rules has done a phenomenal job of pinning responsibility in the organization where it comes to CSR projects and CSR/sustainable projects. So till now, what used to happen before till 22, you could invest money on a CSR project, any amount of money, anywhere, any place, and you were not expected to give any report on it, except maybe a statement, a utilization statement or something like that. But with these 3 amendments, it has become extremely clear about because of these three things, it has become a compliance requirement, which needs the corporates to really plan their accountability and transparency in the sustainability projects. At this juncture, I really want to mention that while we have been mentioning sustainability, and you must have heard a lot of other speakers, it is an evolving science. It is still quite ambiguous. It is not, yes, environment responsibility, we have got about 60 to 80 years of experience in that. And so we're trying to get some numbers, but much of the social dimensions is still very ambiguous, and hence standardization is still an uphill task, which all of us are learning on. So apart from this is a compliance requirement in India, we base our assessment based on these three laws, and these are guidance standards, the ISO 26000 and National Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct. This is where a lot of taxonomy comes in when we are talking about impact assessment. I would also like to mention that ISO 26000 has also been adopted by India. Bureau of Indian Standard has adopted this in 2018, and the National Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct complements ISO 26000 greatly, like their sister guidelines. They are very, very compatible to each other. So we build our assessment based on these two documents. At the risk of repeating myself, there has been a lot of talk on sustainability, and I would like to add one more element to that information, that sustainability is, these are the different topics of sustainability that an organization has to address, whether they're talking about BRSR or whether they're talking about sustainability reporting. These are the 7 buckets that the materiality works around. One is the human rights, labor practices, environment, fair operating practices, consumer issues, and community. Okay, these are the 6 main topics. Of course, organizational governance is the foundational subject that all organizations working in the field of sustainability first have to get organizational governance right. That is the culture of the organization, the mission, vision. And apart from that, they have to look at all this. In India, we have gone a little further. And of these 6 topics, we have made community involvement and development as a mandatory aspect of CSR impact assessment. Yeah, and mark my words, so this is what came in 21. Okay, this impact assessment of CSR projects. 22, we have already seen BRSR being becoming a compliance requirement. BRSR is business responsibility and sustainability reporting, which is reporting on all these aspects. Okay, it builds on NGRBC. Remember, I talked about NGRBC here, National Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct, is the basis for reporting on all these things. And this is what the world calls sustainability. Yeah, so the point I'm trying to say is that India has reached that level of maturity where sustainability reporting is absolutely at our doorstep, and having some accredited inspection bodies and having some accredited processes to talk about sustainability will be a huge help for all of us to understand where the development is happening and to having a more cohesive type of data to take decisions. This is the schematic overview of ISO 26000. Now, why I talk about ISO 26000 is that it is the mother document for a lot of different standards. Now, some of my panel colleagues were talking about hundreds of different standards that are there in the market. You know, there's some are more popular, some are sold very well, some get a lot of limelight, but we are at that stage in our development where it is very difficult to choose one over the other. And I know of many corporates who are fatigued by the number of standards that they have to deal with. So you have a European customer, they want one particular way of reporting on sustainability. You have an investor from America, he wants it separately. So, and when there is multiplicity of standards, ISO 26000, which is a mother document for all these different type of standards, helps in getting at least the basic fundamentals right. Yeah, and that is what we have done in our approach to address sustainability / CSR, is we take the ISO 26000 as our framework. Now, while we are in this discussion, what I really wanted to share, because I know that most of us here in this meeting today are coming from a auditing background, and what I am sharing here in terms of sustainability, in terms of CSR, is what we focus on. Is basically we focus on impact, which is impact, and we define impact as the change experienced by the stakeholder, I'm sorry, and our entire report structure, design, activities, objectives, outcomes are defined around this word only. So we basically look at what is the change, what are the indicators of the change. Remember, we're speaking hugely of a social, we're speaking of a social change that is happening, can be hugely ambiguous, and that is why what are the indicators are something that the client has to decide on. What is the change that they started to do? Who experienced the change and how much did they experience? What is the scale of change? How many people went through the change? Was it a deep change or a marginal change? Was it a short time change, or was it a long time impact? Yeah. So these are the different aspects that we look at when we are looking at the performance of a sustainable activity, whether the sustainable activity is in environment, social, or governance. This is what we keep our focus on. This is the methodology, basically recognizing social responsibility. Social responsibility is not a number. Social responsibility is the change which has been experienced by the stakeholder. Now, stakeholders are people, and there's a huge amount of diversity in the type of change that a stakeholder goes through. Like, for example, if I decided to increase the salary by, let's say, 5 rupees in one of the sectors. Now, if I'm a young woman, with a married woman with 2 small children, that 5 rupees is going to go to feed, go to feed my children, or maybe go to, contribute to their education. But if I'm an older woman with aged parents as my responsibility, that 5 rupees is going to go into maybe medicines or maybe warm clothing. So in sustainability, especially the social dimension of sustainability, is a hugely ambiguous word. And that is why when we are talking about accreditation, we identify and align these type of issues with the national numbers, national development numbers, or UN Sustainable Development Goals, to arrive at what is the impact or what is the change that has happened. The logic model is what we apply next, which is basically the theory of change. The tools are very standard, which is basically you would apply it in any field, whether it's a social field or an economic field. It's basically the qualitative and quantitative things. Scientifically, the stakeholders are chosen by the sampling method. And based on all of this information that we have gathered from the field, we would analyze it to arrive at what changed, the impact, which is defined as what changed, how many people experienced the change, and how long did they experience the change. This is what we were talking about in terms of sustainability, which is environmental, social, and governance. And you will see that there is an overlap. And the point I wanted to make here is that when you're looking at sustainability, whether you're measuring the environmental footprint or a social dimension or a governance dimension, it is important to remember that it has an influence on all the other things. These are not in isolation. Yeah, when you address environmental issue, let's say an afforestation issue, you are helping the community, address its issue of what you call arid land or wasted soil. And you also have to get in the governance issues to see that this asset which is created in a society is governed well. So ESG is hugely complex because each one influences the other, and it becomes extremely important to have a standard approach on identifying the material issues and indicators to talk about impact. Yeah, so that's it from my side. So I mean, the point I wanted to make with the last video is that sustainability is not something that can be addressed just by laws or by being accredited or like following the standards. Yes, that's important, but I think ultimately all of us would have to also realize that sustainability is something of an individual responsibility, and the standardization and all that sort of helps us, is the guidance that we have to follow to arrive to make our world a slightly better place. Thank you so much. I hope we are in touch with each other on the different panels that CCF does keep us involved. And I look forward to being in touch with me. For more information, do reach out. My name is Jyotsna Beliappa. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Jyotsna.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation on role of third-party sustainability audits. Thank you so much. We move on to the next guest speaker.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Amit Tusu is the Senior Director, Climate Actions with the Global Carbon Council. He is based in Doha, Qatar. And for climate change and sustainability professional, he is basically a chemical engineer. And he is empaneled as a CDM expert with the UNFCCC, Bonn, Germany. He is an external consultant with the World Bank, Washington, DC, US. Accreditation panel member with Global Accreditation Bureau, assessor by National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies, WCA. He has also worked in United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Germany, and he is also worked in DNV in India with third-party audits and verification of greenhouse gas reduction projects. Welcome, Mr. Amit Tusu. You can take over.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. I hope you can hear me. Should I start my presentations?
Yes, sir, please.
Thank you. Let me upload it. Okay. So can you see my presentation now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So good afternoon, all of you. From participants from India, but also from other places. I'm based in Doha, Qatar. My name is Amit Tusu. I will be talking about, my topic is about the Global Carbon Council, which is a greenhouse gas and a sustainable development program. So I think the key thing that Global Carbon Council deals with is that is a greenhouse gas program, a voluntary program, and it's an economic solution for addressing the issue of climate change. So okay, I mean, I think all of you are aware that greenhouse gases are actually causing a lot of issues with regard to the climate change and responsible for increasing the temperatures, the global average mean temperatures, but also impacts due to this change in weather, change in increase in the water sea levels, and loss of biodiversity, and so on and so forth. So in this context, let me quickly give you an update about the global emission reduction roadmap. Globally, various UN organizations are actually regulating how the climate change should be addressed at the international level. One of those organizations is called ICAO. It's called International Civil Aviation Organization. It's a UN agency, and it is responsible for all the international international travels, international airline travels. Then the other agency is called UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It is a responsibility to control and to control about 95, I would say more than 95. This is just a rough figure, 95, 97% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And there are another group of measures which are voluntary measures that are also contributing to address the issue of climate change. So international aviation around the world is contributing to about 1.3% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. As I said, ICAO in 2016 came up with a program called CORSIA. It's called Carbon Offset Reduction Scheme for International Aviation. The idea of this scheme is to address the issue of climate change from international airlines and international air flights. The approach they have taken is to have technological innovation in the aircraft engines, to use sustainable fuels, but realizing that this all is going to take a lot of time. So they have come up with this scheme called CORSIA, where they are actually going to focus on carbon offsetting, which means that the carbon, the growth of airlines beyond 2020 would be completely offset with the offsets that are generated by the programs that qualify under the CORSIA scheme. So Global Carbon Council is one such scheme, voluntary program which qualifies, which has the accreditation from the ICAO. So therefore, the projects that are being submitted and that are issued credits under the Global Carbon Council will be able to offset emissions of the international airline operators. Globally, about 634 airline operators exist, and they are. It's likely that over the next 15 years, they are expected to, offset about close to 2.4 billion, tons of carbon dioxide emissions or equivalents. And then I am not going to talk in details of the Paris Agreement, but I think most of you know that there is a global target to contain climate change to 1.5 degrees centigrade. In this context, a lot of information and programs has been launched. One of them is called Article 6.4 and 6.2. They are actually global market mechanisms that are going to be implemented by countries to address the issue of climate change. Apart from this, the voluntary measures include voluntary programs like that exist internationally, like Gold Standard or the VCS, also the Global Carbon Council, where a new program implemented since 2016. So I am now going to give you a little bit broader picture of this whole issue, climate change, regulations and the climate regime. Under the Paris Agreement, to achieve 1.5 degrees centigrade, goal, it's expected that about 52 to 58 billion tons of reductions every year should be done till 2050 and through the end of this century. So in this context, to address this whole thing, there are plans that are submitted by countries. They are called NDCs in the technical language, called the nationally determined contributions, and they contain a number of measures on how the countries plan to actually achieve the objective of under the Paris Agreement. India last year in Glasgow announced that they are going to achieve complete carbon neutrality by 2070. Then now these plans have been submitted by almost all the countries. However, these plans are actually going to take us to 2.7 degrees centigrade by 2050. So which means that there is still a gap. It's called the NDC gap. Which this gap is about close to 13 degrees for 2 degrees centigrade and 29 gigatons, which is 29 billion, to achieve 1.5 degree emissions, 5 degrees centigrade of global mean temperature. Now, just having a little bit background about what the current actions have actually achieved. Prior to the Paris Agreement, there was a regime called Kyoto Protocol. The Kyoto Protocol required developing countries to implement projects that reduce greenhouse gases, and therefore those offsets or credits that would be generated would help developed countries to achieve the target of 5.6% reductions, by the developed countries. So this led to about close to 8,000 plus projects to be submitted under CDM to UNFCCC, and so far about 2 billion CERs or certified emission reductions or credits have been actually issued over 20 years. Now these credits, because they are a commodity and they have a market value, and historically we have seen that the market value was as high as $20–25, but as low as 50 cents, 60 cents, particularly post 2012. Now, in terms of the future actions under the Paris Agreement, were also other actions that are being taken. One of them is Article 6.2, which is actually called the Cooperative Mechanisms, which is a collaboration between two countries or bilaterals, where they agree to trade, ITMOs, internationally mitigate, internationally tradable mitigation outcomes, and one ITMO is actually 1 ton of carbon dioxide reductions, like a carbon credit. So similarly, there is Article 6.4, which is like a global mechanism where all the countries and all the projects from all the countries can actually submit projects, and they can be third-party certified, and they can claim to have carbon credits, and that becomes a tradable commodity. Similarly, there are domestic markets. India has recently announced it's going to set up a domestic market. I think Bureau of Energy Efficiency is the leading agency that's going to work on this. Apart from this, there is also the CORSIA. India's 6 airlines, including Air India, is actually participating in this CORSIA program. And then there are voluntary markets like the Global Carbon Council. So I'm going to talk more about the future demand of the credits. I talked about NDC gap of about 13 to 20 billion every year. There is a CORSIA requirement of 2.5 billion down till 2035. And apart from this, the carbon neutrality of the World Cup in Qatar is going to require about 3.6 billion tons of carbon dioxide reductions and 6.3 million credits. Demand of voluntary credits in 2021 was about 400 million. It crossed $1 billion. This is expected to cross $100 billion, by 2030. Now, coming back to with this broader understanding, I'm going to talk about the Global Carbon Council. What is it, and how it's going to help, to achieve this objective. So, Global Carbon Council is Middle East and North Africa. We call the MENA region, first international voluntary carbon offsetting and sustainable development program. The overall purpose is to contribute to the Paris Agreement objectives and to raise emission of these NDCs, the plan by countries, by making these instruments that's available for corporates, governments, for low carbon and sustainable development objectives. You can see we are based in the Middle East, in Qatar, Doha, which is the capital. And from this figure, you can see that the Southern Hemisphere doesn't have any of those programs. There are the programs which are mostly based in Europe and America and so on and so forth, but this region has really lacked. So that was one of the objectives why GCC was established in 2016. So what does this do? Primarily, this helps to mitigate greenhouse gases, to reduce greenhouse gases, but also achieve other sustainable value additions. So this program provides opportunities from organizations to reduce greenhouse gases and catalyze climate change on ground, but also ensure that these projects and the constructions and operations do not cause any net harm to environment and to society. They also can possibly demonstrate contribution to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There are about 17 UN SDGs. They have been designed to focus on the national level. However, in the context of this GCC program, they have to convert those global national level goals down to project level scope and then determine how they are actually contributing. So there are standards that we have developed for applying these SDGs in projects, but also there are requirements and objectives for such programs to comply with the CORSIA requirements. CORSIA is currently considered to be the highest quality level carbon credit that's available in the voluntary markets as of now, and also in the compliance market. So a project and a credit having this level of certification is going to have an increased value in the market for this commodity. As I said, there are 6 greenhouse gases that are being targeted to be reduced under this. You get the picture in the screen actually talks about carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and so on and so forth. So in line with this, what happens actually is these projects actually target different certification labels. One label is called the ACC label, which focuses on reducing the greenhouse gases, and there are labels like E+ label, E+ certification label, which ensures that project actually achieves no net harm to environment. And similarly, S+ label for society, social goals, and similarly SDG labels for the achievement of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and C+ label for the CORSIA label. So this is what the GCC program actually does. And now let me go to. Okay, so now in context to the accreditation and endorsement for this program, as I said, the GCC program has been endorsed, and we have accreditation from CORSIA, which makes it eligible to actually supply ACCs that could be, or credits that could be used by international airlines during the first pilot period of the CORSIA. So the CORSIA, as I said, is a 3-phase implementation. The first phase is from 2021 to 2023. The second phase for another 3 years, and so on and so forth. India is going to join this CORSIA from 2027 onwards. Okay, so also the GCC program is conditionally endorsed by ICROA. It is an international carbon offset reduction offset scheme. This is a private sector initiative which establishes a quality level, a code of best practice for the credits to comply with that code. And once that they do so, the programs and the code, actually can be used by the corporates, big corporates, international multinationals, to offset their emissions and claim the carbon neutrality. Okay, I'm just going to talk about a little more about industrial setup and how the GCC program actually works. So GCC program has created an infrastructure and an ecosystem, linking all the stakeholders, project developers, buyers, traders, verifiers together. We have used information technology, and in this sense, we also have a carbon registry, which is being being operated by IHS Markit. It's part of the S&P Global, Standards & Poor's Global. You might be aware about the S&P. They are the leaders in establishing the indexes, financial indexes, but also carbon index, and so on and so forth globally. So how it works is that there is a governance structure which is composed of the advisory board. There are about 8 members, 8 advisory board members, and many of them are coming from, for example, Dr. John Kalani is the ex-director of CDM at United Nations. There are members from ITA, Mrs. Simon Henry, and so on and so forth. So they provide strategic direction to this whole program. Then there is steering committee. They are responsible for approving standards, but also responsible for approving project registrations and as well as carbon credit issuances. So we have already accredited, I would say approved about 9 verifiers, and many more are in process. The verifiers are many of them you would be knowing, like there are verifiers like Verico based in Germany. There are verifiers Earthwood based in India. There are verifiers also Atlas based in Spain. Many of the verifiers like TOSUD, SGS, and others have also expressed interest and submitted applications. Anyway, so there's also a process of stakeholder engagement, which means that stakeholders have an opportunity to comment on such projects, and those comments would have to be addressed by the verifiers. So what happens is that project owners actually look at their own operations and try to identify projects where there is a potential for reducing any of the 6 greenhouse gases. So once they do so, they have to actually choose a methodology that is kind of a standard that will actually tell them how to calculate emission reductions and how to actually address baseline additionality and conduct monitoring and so on and so forth. And then once they do so, they submit this documentation to the secretariat called the Global Carbon Council Operations Team. It is all done online, and once they do so, they are, of course, the completeness check is done. After this is fine, the project is put for global stakeholder consultation for 15 days. During the time, the verifier can conduct its verification, and once they conclude the verification, the project would be submitted to the Global Carbon Council for the GCC team to evaluate and give a recommendation to the steering committee to either register or to reject the project. Similarly, once the project is constructed and operated, for next 10 years, the carbon credits can be issued if the project has been implemented accordingly and it is operating and is actually releasing greenhouse gases. So this is how the whole thing works. And once the credits are issued, they go. There's the carbon registry. It's like a banking software, and the credits are issued in the accounts. It operates through accounts, and the credits can be transferred with the click of a button like an internet banking. And we are also connected with exchanges like CBL, but also Air Carbon based in Singapore. CBL is based in Europe. And there are many other exchanges like Shanghai Environmental Exchange and so on and so forth. So this allows the credits generated from anywhere to find a market access globally. Okay, I think, yeah, I will just quickly try to summarize the verifier scope. The verifier has to conduct verification as per ISO 14064 Part 2, which is for the projects. And there are other requirements of that have to be complied. The GCC program relies to a greater extent on CDM because they apply the United Nations standards and methodologies in the projects. But also, GCC program has developed its own documentation and own standards on methodologies on areas where there are no methodologies. So there are requirements with regard to E+, S+, SDGs, and there are that are publicly available on our website. So the projects can be submitted, and they can be any type of project like tail gas recovery for oil and gas, zero flaring, NG pipeline leakage reduction, power generation like wind, hydro, solar, so on and so forth, cement blending, fertilizer switch, cogeneration, iron, steel, buildings, and so on and so forth. Okay. So this is how this is a snapshot of how our project registry looks like. So far, we have about today morning 489 projects that have been submitted, many of them from India, Turkey, and they're submitted from almost closer to 25 countries now. The power generation projects are as big as so far about 1500 gigawatt, 1500 megawatt. The capacity from all the leading players in India like Adani, Reliance, Tata, and so on and so forth. Okay, I think I have a few more slides, but perhaps then I'm also available for any questions or answers that you might wish to see. So this is just a snapshot of projects that are there. You can see from different countries. It's a little older slide, but the projects include, renewable energy, agriculture, household devices, LED, transportation, rooftop solar, so on and so forth. Okay, so we are expecting issuance of close to 500 million by 2032, or in 10 years' time. There is a breakup on your screens that you can see. A lot of emissions from emission reductions and credits are possibly to be issued by India, followed by Turkey, Pakistan, Vietnam, China, and so on and so forth. And the snapshot of renewable energy is actually leading this whole, but there are also other type of projects that are being submitted. That is end of my slide. I purposely kept it a little shorter to allow some question and answers from the audience. Thank you very much. Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Amit Tusu.
Yes.
Senior Director from GCC. Thank you for throwing light on the global carbon policy, GHG, and sustainable development programs that are available in your organization. Thank you very much for your participation and valuable time. We now move on to the last session.
So just one thing, will there be a question and answer session or not?
Sir, there is no question, sir, for your session.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Next, we will call now our MS Dhoni of CCC to
it may take huge time for practical implementation. That is the reason industry need like management system consultant for effective and efficient implementation activities also. Let us take any of these management system certification standard like 9,000, 14,000, 50,000, 22,000, 27,000. All these standards got promoted and well implemented by management system consultant. We are having vital role play in that. Let us say in our forum we are having more than 100 consultants, minimum 100 consultants. Let us assume that each consultant is having 200. So straight away, this scheme can be get implemented with the consultant 4,000 to 5,000 industry just like that. That is the quantity of volume, quantity of network we are having with this MS consultant. So that's what in this sustainability certification, sustainability program, whatever in the scheme, once it is getting handled by MS consultant, it may come in real position, real shape for its implementation. That's what I'm trying to insist. In this, I want to give more input to both industries as well as MS consultant, how it can be handled, what is the way they can do. Just I'm trying to share my view and experience, what I learned, what I discussed with my co-consultants. First thing is, without MS consultant, you can avail the knowledge, you can avail standard. It is very easy to get anything from Google now. You can go with any of social media, you can conduct any of these government organizations, you can get knowledge standard. Once it is need to access, need to customize for your day-to-day need of the industry, yes, you need some expert, you need subject expert, you need a person to implement for your organization as customized one. That we MS consultant, management system consultant is ours. Right. Now I like to make clear on management system consultant. ISO consultant, commercial name, got designated in our market. It doesn't mean that all the ISO consultants are. Yes, it has its own ambiguity. When the person is working for certifications, he may strong in certification, but he may feel difficulty for implementing new standards. So that is the reason we need to differentiate MS consultant, management system consultant, and ISO consultant. You may feel a little hard in this kind of discussion, but it's fact we need to identify the MS consultants. Trainers, financial consultants, statistical consultants. Each and every consultant group has its own subject expertise. So it is an option, it is a responsibility of industry to choose a right management system consultant. I can recommend to go with some sort of scheme owners recognition. Let us say NBT, National Board for Quality Promotion, having a separate scheme for qualifying consultant. They are listing the quality consultant based on the sector wise, food sector, IT, quality, environment, health and safety. Recently, they are trying to move social accountability. So once you are going this kind of registered consultant, recommended consultant, you may feel the right amount of knowledge person as well as experienced person. Right. Precisely, I can give definition for this management system consultant as the competent and strong management concept in implementing the new strategies, documents, culture change, review mechanism. It can be audit approach on specific management strategy and resulted with certification. So that is a definition I like to share in this or register in this forum. We management system consultant working for the real implementation system, and the outcome of our implementation is certification process. Certification is outcome of our process. It is not the ultimate game or goal of us. That is the point I want to register in this. In that scenario, MS consultant is really value adding to strategical oriented activities. That's what we are strongly recommending to go with proper implementation of sustainability. It is MS consultant. Right. So now let us need to understand the client. Some people, some engineering industries, some export-oriented industries may feel this sustainability as the volunteer mode or part of their CSR, corporate social responsibility. The way of implementing this sustainability is on practical mode. So once we are appointing or once we management consultant enrolling this kind of organization, we need to differentiate the process and product as benchmark oriented approach based on the financial strategies. Once it is financial strategy is getting involved, it doesn't mean that we need to end up with accounts or financial person. Really, it is not requiring. It may help for us to make good system once we get in with the financial people. They can give the real status, real data for us. With that, we can make a very good system for our organization or industry in a sustainable manner. Another thing is specific requirement from customer. Or nowadays, people is working for a certificate called FSCOC, Forest Stewardship Council. Forest Stewardship Council chain of custody. So it is mainly for sustainability. It talks about how we are reproducing forests or how we are reproducing green energy to this gold, the quantity of consumption of this wood pulp factories. Right. So this kind of standard specifically need from customer as well as country. Another thing is business fundamental. Yes, still organizations are there. They are not expecting, they don't want anything to put it to the customer or world, but they want to do the own organization need or policy in that. So like this, we are having various industries. Based on the industry need, we need to accommodate our systems and practices. Another thing is most important is sustainability. Most important requirement on this sustainability. It's a prerequisite to hand over your industry to next generation. It's most important. I want again register in this forum. Once you are working properly on the sustainability, it helping you to hand over industries to your next generation. When talking about sustainability with the organizations or industry, suddenly they will raise the question. We are working for 30% to 60% of raw material price increase. Industry literally struggling with sustaining for present scenario. You're talking about the future. If you are asking all these policies, everything in the industry on present scenario, they may feel little irritated also on us. So presently we are struggling for day-to-day business. There are a lot of issues after COVID-19. There are a number of issues. How it is going to be get implemented in our side? How it can be taken care for our day-to-day role? It's true. It's a fact, but it is inevitable. Until otherwise, sustainability is not considered as the long-term goal on inevitable manner, it is very difficult for us to sustain same with our 2025 business. Fine. So that is the reason sustainability on industry is mandatory, inevitable, we need to take care of that. Therefore, bold seminars, bold detailed seminars is given today. Big management consultant having more value and role play on this. Now I'm talking about on industry, wood industries. Okay. We know very well that quantity of forest is in decreasing. We are one way destroying or exploiting the natural resources, particularly on forest. Another way, we are trying to regrow forest. Okay, it is a big challenge we are looking in that. So that is the reason on this sustainability, Forest Stewardship Council or certification participated. Until 2019 in FSC, India had only 400 certifications. So until 2019. Presently, it has crossed more than 800 organizations got certified with the FSC. Entire supply chain is got certified with the FSC. With this FSC, they are trying to quantify the consumption of forest. That is the reason they are telling the language chain of custody. They are trying to quantify the wood timbers not consumed, quantity of recycled papers or wood is getting considered. Based on that, again they are reproducing the forest activities. So we are the consultant trying to understand the skills in the FSCOC or PEFC. We are trying to understand, we are making the organization to implement in easy manner. It is possible to ensure the sustainability in easy, in effective way. Okay. That's what MS consultant playing a vital role in sustainability. Fine. Now I like to share my experience in fish industries. Let us say West Coast belt. Fish meal and fish oil is a major product getting manufactured in a particular West Coast. Until 2018, 2016, 17, 18, consumption from fish per day is crossed more than 15,000 tons. 15,000 tons per day they consume fish. On the day, people doesn't bother or much about the sustainability. They don't bother. I can't say not bother. It is not properly regulated. I can say. That is, it is allowed to consume more than 15,000 tons of fish per day. What is the scenario now? Industry is not able to sustain not even 20% of their capacity. So 80% of their capacity is getting unutilized. Price of fish also got increased. Demand of product also got increased. They are not able to supply the product. They are not able to give the right quality material to the product, to the customers. Literally, they are in very difficult stage. This is a right example I can say to the industry. Once it is not properly taken care by your resources on sustainable way, yes, definitely we may have to face a bitter stage of business in your trade. It's literally what happens. Now you can see the price of fish. Now another way government is keep on increasing the banned period of fish. Again, it is getting increased. It started from 30 days. Now it is not held up for 70 days per year. Sustainability. Recently, one thing was happened in Sri Lanka. You might have crossed the newspaper also. To increase this fish sustainability, they have immersed skeleton of bus in the sea. More than 175 skeleton of bus they immersed in the sea. So because of the skeleton of the bus, okay, fish farming will get increased. Sustainable fish will get increased. So after 5 to 10 years, they can get the good density of fish. After that, they can go for some other activities. It is the extreme of sustainability is not maintained in your country or in your industries. It's extreme. So it's inevitable if industry is not considered sustainability, you need to change your, you need to face your challenges. It cannot be get avoided. So let us take it as a very positive and challenge way. Make ensure your sustainability activities in your industry with right professions, right experts. It help you to avoid a lot of problems. It help you to sustain your business with next generation. Another thing is vital role in sustainability. One thing, sustainability is not new to MS consultants. In 14,001, we are well talked about the life cycle approach. In 9,001, we are talking about infrastructure. All our standard, we are talking about waste management, waste disposal, everything is sustainability. We are talking much about HR sustainability, how to use our human resources effectively, everything we talk. It is not new for our MS consultants. Only thing that now it is coming to the level of futuristic need as well as got its own shape for implementing sustainability in your organization as inevitable strategy. Inevitable strategy. Therefore, all the standards, all the certification is coming to your footstep and knocking your door to allow them to implement. Still, it is in knocking the door. Still, industry is not open the door. That is the fact I can say. I want to register as per my personal experience, can be my personal view or personal vote, but it is a fact. Still, industries are accepting this as an important fact want to go with sustainability. It may take some time for urgent activities. Once it's coming as urgent activities, they can allocate the fund, they will ensure to apply it on day-to-day manner. So that's what we MS consultant trying to drive these industries on the sustainable activities. Yes. You know, sustainability activities, sustainability principles, everything we understand. How we are implementing, how we are having path to success. It needs some drive. It needs some fund allocation. It needs resource allocation. It needs industrial strategy to make it in their own futuristic dream. Once it is futuristic dream, it needs some sort of objectives. That's what MS consulting plays about. Yes, all the sector specific standards very well we can incorporate sustainability activities. Already certification body auditors also insisting some sort of sustainability objective in sector specific oriented activities. So that can be get implemented, that can be precisely noted and make it in practical manner. That's what I make this as a vital role of MS consulting in sustainability. Now I'll talk about ESG reports. Yeah. When we are coming about ESG reports, morning also one of our speaker told that it is got ended up with financial institutions. It's supposed to be with the technical and MS consultant. Now it is got landed with finance auditors or something. Okay. I want to note out that point and I won't discuss in that in 2 minutes. It doesn't mean that we are opposing to hand over this kind of activities. We are not telling that. We are not telling that it is only our job. Not like that. We are expertise in that. We are familiar in that. We need to be part of that team. We need to work with financial consultant as ESG report creation. Once we are a process expert interfering in this kind of activities, it makes more value to the industries. We can make it as a perfect implementation. All this ESG report is not a one-time report. It is a report created based on the past 2 years of performance. Based on this 2 years performance, need to be projected for another 2 to 3 years. Once it's coming in for another 2 to 3 years, it needs some practical implementation, practical review. It may need to go for management system audit. We are likely you can see internal audits. It needs to go with that. So we have already system for handling all these ESG requirements and data security. Once it is getting incorporated with our MS consulting, it can be happen to industry very easy manner and effective manner. It will not cost much. Presently, for making ESG report with industry, they are spending too much of money. Okay. Once it is coming with MS consultant, it can be get optimized. I can't say it will become cheap. It can be get optimized. It can be get implemented very effectively. Another thing is important role of MS consultant is trying to incorporate this sustainability in our regular trainings or webinars. 100% we are conducting awareness training program for all our client industries. When we are taking 9,000 for we are conducting the training sessions. It is mandatory. We need to make sustainability always part of our discussions. It's mandatory and needs to be happen. Sustainability is way we need to make our industry to learn or know about the ineffectiveness. Sorry, importance. That is vital role as we are the consultant need to make it up. Another thing is we may make industry to make it the right direction traveling and then help to adhere the standard and certificate body requirements. Once it is coming in certificate body requirements, again it's coming to our report to make the client implement or make it happening on right directions. But so as we are the consultant, we can ensure the sustainability on day-to-day work practices. Precisely, I can say it is not requiring any additional effort. Already we are doing all these activities. It can be get incorporated in our present pathway. Fine. Thank you so much for your comments. Again, we want to register some of the please go with subject expert on your sustainability activities. You can choose with MS consultant. You can go with the right subject expert for your industry-oriented activities. It can be easy and effective way to complete your sustainability activities. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
So there is one question.
Yes, sir.
Monica. She has raised the hand.
Yeah,
Do you have any question, ma'am? Please unmute yourself. Is Tamil Chelvi? Please unmute yourself. I think you already chatted. Is that what you want? PPT, no? You will share it in YouTube, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
There is a question.
Good afternoon, James. So very good presentation. It shows your passion for it. Just a couple of questions.
Yes.
One is on that, you showed one on the system auditor, can he be a consultant? Can you just go to that slide? One slide, you have to do that.
Yes,
You're just throwing questions to us or you expect an answer to it?
sorry, sir.
That particular slide is a good slide.
Yeah.
I'm just asking whether just that you're throwing more questions at us or you're expecting an answer.
Just you want,
If
I'm
you
sure
want-
that.
No, if you want to answer, fine.
Please tell. Yeah. What's your question, sir?
The slide on the.
Can auditors from subscription work and manage? Yes, sir. You want me to explain that, sir?
A little.
Sir, I want to make it very clear on auditor. Auditor is talking about the complaints of the standard in organization. His job is to whether it is implemented, effective implemented. Or it is got progress, he is not having any chance. I'm sorry. Yeah. So his job is only ensure the complaints of standard. What is the effort, what is the pain organization made for making that complaints is not his criteria. I can say right limited for him it's less organization. For him it's only ensuring the degree of compliance. How it is compliance, what is the level of implementation, how can be cut further improve. But when the system needs to travel from scratch to what level, it different set of expertise need. Right. So when the organization trying to choose MS consultant from background of auditor, it has its own distribution. That's what I'm trying to say now. All system auditor cannot be get that consultant. That is the point I'm trying to highlight also. Even some of the auditors trying to do that and they are having better experience on that. That's what I'm trying to insist in this forum. All certified auditor cannot become this kind of implementation auditor consultant. I can't say it cannot be done. It has its own skill of competencies required.
Second question. Even consultants implement the system for a period of time. The industry internalizes that knowledge.
Correct.
So what is your challenge? How is your challenge when the standard, version upgrades or any other thing? So how do you, when you internalize and you see after some time that the same document is available with another company or in that case, how does the consultant have to work to overcome those things?
Sir, it's a unique issue within consultant. It is not an issue with industry. How we are making the documentation is our internal. That is the reason this Windows, Word, Excel, Power, everything is invented for us. That's what we are working very smart. It doesn't mean that each and every client I want to make manual procedure, it's not required. Then what is the reason we have this laptop, Word, Excel now? Okay, sir. It is our internal things. Only thing is how industry look our documentation as customized for their basic needs. Fine. Let us say we are setting objective for the organization. It should be closely related with the organization goals. Let us say on-time delivery. It can be that this common criteria for any kind of service industry or manufacturing industry. It needs to be get summarized. Simply we are making on-time delivery. Organization may feel that it is not customized for their own requirement. So as we are the management consultant, we should be thorough in their process, functionals, real business goal, real business problems, where and how they are facing the issues. And let us say now present issue with the industry is raw material price. Each and every raw material price has got increased 15 to 20%. In paper, point of time, it's increased 60%. On the time, if I'm talking about the on-time delivery, industries may not be that is we are working for the real need. On that time, we need to talk about the how this kind of situation can be get improvised. We are not the person to give technical issue for eliminating that issue. At least we need to re-engineer their activities. At least we can give some important tool for purchasing activities, how to handle their management or financial management activities, inventory cost. At any point of time, what is the stock inventory getting invented? When we are given this kind of objectives, industry may feel that we are aligned with their day-to-day problem. Then they will come and knock our door. When we are having this kind of issues, come and solve our system concept, give some sort of auditings, some discussion, come and they will ask it out. Once we are having a proof that we are a certification consultant, we are working only for the certificate, then people may feel that we are the person only doing copy and paste documentation. That's what I'm trying to insist on. That's what always I'm using the language management system practitioner.
I really appreciate the differentiation you made between the MS consultant and ISO. It's very good thing you made. And also now you want more of the consultants to work on sustainability and ESG. This is also very good vision of yours. I think you should take it up in CCC.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Prem Kumar, for the wonderful presentation and giving clarity on how to select consultants and what consultant role in sustainability. Thank you so much. Okay, we have come to the concluding session today. We would like to thank everyone, especially the panelists, the speakers, and the participants who are physically present here. We would like to thank them, and participants who are online. Thank you so much for your support, and we thank Anna University for all the technical and more administrative support. Thank to the tech team for providing all the support on video, audio, visuals, and everything. Thanks to our CCC team, and thanks to the back office team, everyone. So tomorrow's session starts at 10:30. Sorry, 10 o'clock. Tomorrow's session is at 10 a.m. The link is the same. So we request all of you to come physically here. Otherwise, you can come and join online. So thank you so much. Have a great evening. Thank you.